Hey, vinyl community, Jeff here again. Time for some new stuff. Got some new stuff in the mail recently. And yeah, so hadn't been buying a whole lot, but when I found these available, I tracked them down because I didn't want to miss out on these. These are some imports from, where is this company from? Greece, I believe. Alone Records. And I got an email that from some other company that sells records by them, and it was an overseas company too. And I'm like, got to be a better way to get imports. The shipping costs just kill me. So I reached out to my buddy over at Miami Metal Merchant. He's the one that I tend to go through for imports because the prices he has are decent, and they, so it ended up. They're decent, and the shipping, of course, is from Florida, so not too bad. So I reached out to him and said, hey, I know he carries stuff by these labels. And I'm like, can you by chance get things from Alone Records? And he said, sure, they're carried by High Roller Records. So there's a connection there. So I told him the titles, and he said, well, I see one of them, whatever. And then, so I waited, I don't know, a couple weeks, maybe 2 weeks went by. I don't know. A couple weeks went by, and he wrote me back and said, hey, one of the other ones you were asking about is now on the High Roller side. I can get that one. So I said, okay, cool. But then by then I discovered there was actually a third one. I said, what about this one? He said, yeah, that's there too. Oh, awesome. So he put them on his website. I ordered them. He got them. They came in fairly quick. Some of the stuff I've ordered from him has taken some time to get here from overseas, but these came in quick. Like, it seems like it was about a week, maybe less than 2 weeks later. He's like, they're in, and I'm shipping them. So they came in. So yeah, these are slightly obscure bands, and you may be familiar. I don't know, whatever. I won't go any further. Jacob's Dream. They were on Metal Blade Records, I believe. Their first album came out in 2000. This is their 2001 album, their second release. Now, first time on vinyl. Power metal, U.S. power metal band, and their first album was released on vinyl like in 2013, so that was before I was collecting. So I would like to track that down, but now it's kind of costly as an import. So, but I didn't want to miss out on the second album, and there's like three more albums after this, which maybe they'll continue on. Yeah, so U.S. power metal band. I bought this back in the day when it came out in 2001. The singer, Chaz Bond, has went on to do quite a few other projects. I actually showed his most recent project in a few videos ago, a band called Vulture's Gathering. I should have pulled that. Actually, it's right here. It's a Vulture. He's done this. He did Biogenesis. He's done some other bands. And this is the most recent one. So anyway, he's still around. The band, not so much. Insert, lyrics, and all that good stuff. And there are two different versions. I got black. You got black. There's a brown version too, on brown vinyl that Alone Records did. So I'm not as familiar with Alone Records. So I don't know if they're. Yeah, they're in Greece. I think I've heard of them before, but I don't know if I have anything else by them. But this is it's neat that they released this on a limited quantity. I forget, only a couple hundred, like a short amount of brown, and then whatever. All right, the next one that also Alone Records. This is the one that actually caught my attention. This is the one that made me search out, and then I found out these other ones though. But Oracle Sila. This album, I had this back in the day, 1993 release. The band came out with this. It was kind of more of a custom release. I fell in love with this release back in the 90s and just couldn't get enough of it. And then they were done. There wasn't a whole lot. I think the singer went on to do some other project, which I think I heard, and it just wasn't the same. Kind of power metal, U.S. power metal feel. At times a little progressive sounding, prog sounding. His vocals are what just was impressive. And it was only 6, 7 songs. It was like a short album. But in 2016, Rox Records put out one of their underground series. This was like, I think, number 1. Wasn't this number 1 in the underground series? Which means that they released like 100, 150, less than 200. Anyway, I didn't start getting back into buying vinyl records until 2017. By the time I did, this was near impossible to get. And nowadays you can't touch it it costs hundreds of dollars. So this getting repressed on vinyl with a couple bonus tracks from one of their later demos. So they had, or maybe earlier demo. 93, they had an album. In 2010, there was a anthology CD released by some company, I forget, was it Dive Bomb Records? I have a digital copy of that, and it had a bunch of demos from like 1990, and then it had a bunch of other alternate takes, so it was an anthology. But anyway, great stuff. Love this album. Finding this being put out on vinyl again was like I had to get that. So this was the one that I got the email that tried. I'm like, what? Somebody's repressing Oracle? They're such a small little band. So 2 versions of this also. I believe I still got the black, and I forget what the other color is. I went with black only because cost-wise it's a little cheaper, and you know, sometimes the smaller pressings of smaller companies pressing color, it doesn't always come out the greatest. Third one was Faith Factor. I think this one popped up and I'm like, wow, interesting. So I love that cover. It's great to have on something other than CD because the artwork is just killer. You got that demon-looking head on the spear. Faith Factor, Against the Darkened Sky. Little known one-off band, 2008. You know, classic metal, 80s metal type flair to it. I guess in 2014, the guitar player, bass player passed away. So that's dedicated on there. Very much, you know, high soaring vocals, just right up 80s type metal. As you can tell from the name, they are they have some Christian. There is a Christian band anyway. It's a Christian band. So that was the third one, and that one I'm like, yes. So interesting that Faith Factor and that Alone Records put all 3 of these out because they're all great, slightly obscure records. Now this one, there was black and there was white. I ordered black. He said they sent me white. I'm not going to complain. So I just chose black again because cost and chances of it being, you know, less likely to have any kind of surface noise. And then the same day that came in, another one came in. Now those were imports that came in from Florida. This is an import that came in from Sweden, and it came in on the same day. So a couple videos ago, I showed the reissue that was done of a Stairway record, the first Stairway record from 1993. Stairway is a Christian metal band that did, they've done a lot of albums. Love the 93 album. But anyway, in 2010, they did this album. I think I showed the CD in this. And so when I was filing away that Stairway album that I showed on the video, I noticed I did something that made me click over to the band's Bandcamp. And I noticed on the band's Bandcamp that they had this album, and they said, we found a small batch of these for sale. This is the 2010 record. In 2010, they released a CD and a vinyl, and I don't know what it was like another version, but this came out when the album came out. Now, I was not buying records in 2010, so therefore I never knew that this was even out on a vinyl edition. So they had a small amount. They were actually fairly cheap. I forget, it was like 20 bucks. Of course, you know, it's the transfer over to American funds and all that, but still, even with that and shipping, it wasn't that bad. And so I snatched it up. It's on blue. Again, because I have the CD, but I was like, I didn't even know there was a vinyl edition. And here they found a couple, and they're selling them for not outrageous. Just got a little lyric sheet in there. So just the fact that they weren't like saying, hey, we're going to sell these for $100 a pop. You know, they had them for a regular price. And so I grabbed one, and they shipped it, and it came fairly fast for overseas. So yeah, I was really thrilled to have gotten this. They, like I said, they've got a handful of albums out that are not on vinyl, so maybe that's, you know, they'll continue to do that. So, all right, and the last thing I've got here actually was a local purchase. I still had a gift card from Father's Day that I had not spent, so we went to the record store. Went to one record store that I was going to buy something, but they were closed. This was like the 3rd of July. 3rd of July. Yeah. So he closed early or closed something, you know, before the 4th of July. So we went to another store, one of my other record stores. Actually, we went to one of the other ones, and it was closed. And then we went, so we drove like a big triangle across town. So we took the long way around and went over to the one that I always do, the record store day and everything. Went there and looked around, and I found this that was, this is a local band. I don't know if you've heard of them. Freedom Hawk, Take All You Can. This is a 2022 record. I only discovered in the past year that Freedom Hawk was a local band. I have yet to see them, but they do play around here. But they are a recorded band. They have some albums out, I believe. This is their 2022 record. As it says, the long-awaited new album from the masters of vintage-tinged cosmic heavy rock. Kind of a doom stoner rock. I've listened to stuff online and I thought, wow, I really dig that. And so I wanted to go out and buy their album. I noticed that they had an album out. And then I realized, well, where am I going to get it from? But then I go to my record store and they have a section called local music. And they had a whole bunch of different local bands in there. And this one was right on the front. I said, there I am. I'm going to get it right there. So, yeah, oops. You can see from the look of the guys that they got that, I don't know, that stoner vibe. Fuzzy. Yeah, so I used my existing gift card to grab one of these. And I've got to get it's black. I'm going to put a polyline sleeve in there. So there you go. There you go. That was the, all of this came in the past couple of days over the holiday weekend. So that's the newest and latest stuff. I'm so excited to get these imports. And there's a lot of stuff out there from that same Miami Metal Merchant, some other imports that I really need to get my hands on. There's a couple more Impelliteriums. But, you know, I bought these instead with the money that I had at the time. Anyway, thanks for watching. I'll see you later. Rock on and rock hard.